What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. And listen, we might be smack in the middle of the NBA offseason dead zone, but that doesn't mean the Celtics world has hit pause. While most players are squeezing in the last days of vacation before training camp kicks off, Boston's front office, and maybe more importantly, its ownership group, is quietly cooking up something that could change the franchise for decades. So let's talk about it. Let's talk Celtics, let's talk ownership shifts, let's talk new arenas, and let's talk what that means for the future of the green and white. Because if you thought this offseason was just about bench depth and restricted free agency drama, think again. Now, here's the thing that might catch a lot of fans off guard, especially the ones who live and breathe Celtics history. For all the tradition, for all the banners hanging from the rafters, for all the iconic moments that have happened on that parquet floor, the Boston Celtics don't actually own their own arena. That's right, TD Garden? Not theirs. It's owned and operated by the same folks who run the Boston Bruins. So all that game night revenue, concessions, ticket surcharges, event income, most of it flows through the Bruins side of the ledger. And if you're part of a group that just shelled out nearly $7 billion to buy the Celtics, you better believe you're not cool with just letting that money walk out the door. You want your own building. You want your own control. You want to build your own legacy. This is why there's real momentum building around the idea of a brand new Celtics arena. A state-of-the-art basketball cathedral. Not a multi-use, share-the-calendar kind of setup, but a venue built for one thing only, Boston Celtics basketball. And while that might sound exciting, and it is, it also brings a whole host of new questions, especially if you're a Boston native or someone who's ever had to sit through bumper-to-bumper traffic heading to Foxborough. Because that's the nightmare scenario, right? That they pull a Patriots move, that they build this gleaming billion-dollar stadium outside the city, something out in the suburbs, a sleek complex surrounded by malls, restaurants, concert venues, everything but a T-stop. Yeah, the Patriots pulled it off eventually in Foxborough, but that place was built to be a destination. You don't just swing by a Patriots game. You plan for it. You pack a cooler. You leave at 10 a.m. for a 4 p.m. kickoff. You sit in gridlock before and after. And yeah, you make memories, but only after you fight your way in and out. And that's what has so many Celtics fans worried. Because Boston is a city of neighborhoods. It's walkable, it's transit-connected, it's built for the kind of spontaneous, last-minute decision like, hey, want to go to the game tonight? That's what makes TD Garden, for all its flaws, work. It's woven into the fabric of a city. You can grab dinner in the North End and make tip-off. You can hit the bar after the final buzzer. It's more than just an arena. It's part of the city's rhythm. So where would new arena go? That's where things get interesting. Because you start looking at areas that are technically still Boston, but have enough room to dream big. And one place keeps coming up in every conversation, the Seaport District. Now, if you haven't been to Boston in a while, you might not recognize the Seaport. That place has been completely transformed over the last decade. What used to be old warehouses and parking lots is now a waterfront tech hub filled with luxury apartments, cocktail bars, rooftop everything. It's where you go for startup launches, not clam chowder. But here's the kicker. There's still some space to play with. And if you're looking to plant a billion-dollar facility somewhere with growth potential, strong infrastructure, and investor buzz, Seaport checks a lot of boxes. It also puts the Celtics right in the heart of the new Boston. Not the old-school, gritty, Celtics pride Boston. The shiny, future-focused Boston. That's exciting for some people and terrifying for others. And look, this wouldn't be the first time a Boston team flirted with the idea of skipping town, or at least skipping the traditional neighborhoods. Remember when the Red Sox once floated the idea of leaving Fenway? That's sacred ground now. But back in the early 2000s, ownership actually debated building a new park elsewhere. Same logic applied. More luxury suites, more event space, more cash flow. Thankfully, that didn't happen, and Fenway lives on. But the Celtics? This might be different. Because unlike the Sox, the Celtics don't own their current building. They're tenants. And $7 billion is a hell of a motivator to stop being a tenant and start being a landlord. Now I can already hear some of you yelling at your phones or laptops. It's not just about money. The Celtics belong in the Garden. And listen, I get that. Emotionally, spiritually, narratively, of course the Celtics belong there. But ownership? They're looking at spreadsheets. They're running return on investment models. And they're asking one question: where do we get the best bang for our multi-billion-dollar buck? And here's the wild part. It's not just about basketball. Because if the Celtics do build their own arena, the ripple effects hit everything, from the Bruins' revenue stream to Boston's downtown economy to city planning and traffic flow. You don't just plop a new stadium down without dealing with zoning, infrastructure, and probably a whole lot of political red tape. Oh, and here's the kicker. As is tradition in American sports, you better believe that somewhere along the line, taxpayer money is going to get dragged into this conversation. Because billionaires love buying teams, but when it comes time to build the billion-dollar venue for those teams, suddenly, they're asking the public to chip in. Call it a partnership. Call it an investment in the city. Call it whatever spin you want. But at the end of the day, it's the people of Boston who'll be paying attention to where those dollars are going. So yeah, a new Celtics arena might sound amazing on paper, but where it lands, how it's funded, and what it represents for the city's identity, that's the real story. Now let's just zoom out for a second and think about the basketball side of this. Imagine an arena custom-built for the Celtics. No hockey lines, no makeshift adjustments, just a full-on basketball-first experience. The acoustics, the lighting, the sight lines, the kind of atmosphere that makes playoff games feel like war. That's not nothing. We've seen this in other sports. In Major League Soccer, for example, teams that moved into soccer-specific stadiums saw their attendance and fan engagement skyrocket. Why? Because the venue matched the vibe. It felt authentic. It felt right. You weren't watching your team play in someone else's building. It was theirs, and the fans felt that ownership too. Same thing could happen in Boston. If done right, a new Celtics arena could elevate the experience for everyone: players, fans, staff, media. But again, that's only if it's done right. And let's be real, when politics, money, and city planning get involved, the chances of done right get real slim, real fast. So yeah, maybe the seaport makes the most sense. Maybe that's where this whole thing is headed. But the clock is ticking. New ownership isn't just going to sit on its hands. They didn't drop billions to just maintain. They dropped it to build. And if building means breaking ground on a brand new arena, then get ready, because the next era of Boston Celtics basketball might come with a brand new address. Now, while all this ownership and arena talk is buzzing in Boston, there's another conversation heating up that isn't just local, it's global. It's that age-old, never-ending, emotionally exhausting, Twitter-splitting, barbershop argument-fueling debate. Who's the greatest basketball player of all time? And somehow, in a summer where most players are quiet, laying low, touching grass, Nikola Jokic just got thrown into the middle of it by none other than his own former teammate. That's right, Michael Porter Jr. went ahead and dropped a bomb in an off-season interview, straight up declaring that Nikola Jokic is the greatest basketball player of all time. Not top 5, not on track to be, not even he could be if he wins a few more titles. No, MPJ went full send and said GOAT. And his reasoning? He could have won MVP 5 years in a row. That was the logic. If you're that dominant for that long, then how could you not be number one? Let's just look at Bird's MVP run. In the 1983-84 season, Larry averaged 24 points, 10 boards, and 6 assists per game, while shooting nearly 50% from the field. Then the next year, he turns it up. 28 points, 10.5 rebounds, 6.5 assists, and oh yeah, he did it shooting 52% from the floor, 42% from 3, and 88% from the line. In the 80s, when the three-pointer was basically a novelty. That's not just elite, that's alien. That's basketball from the future, dropped in a Boston garden with a bad mustache and a dirty uniform. And then, in 1985-86, he does it again. 26 points, 10 boards, 7 assists, playing all 82 games, while shooting 49% from the field, 42% from deep, and 89% from the line. The man was on a mission. And this wasn't in an era where teams were load managing and babying their stars. Bird played hard, played hurt, and played every night. So when people throw around MVP as the be-all, end-all of GOAT status, I just have to pump the brakes. Because we've seen guys dominate the award and still not crack the top three conversation. Steve Nash won back-to-back MVPs. Incredible player, generational point guard, but nobody's out here calling Nash the greatest to ever do it. Derrick Rose had one magical MVP season. Russell Westbrook averaged a triple-double and got his. But again, the MVP award is about narrative as much as it is about dominance. And that's where Jokic sits right now. He's in that sweet spot where the stats are undeniable, the wins are stacking, and people are starting to look for a fresh face to crown. It's what happened with Giannis a few years ago. It's what happened with Steph before him. And yeah, Jokic might have the cleanest resume of anyone in the league right now. But GOAT? That's a whole different conversation. Because once you open that door, you're inviting in the ghosts of greatness. Michael Jordan, LeBron James, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Magic, Kobe, Shaq, Duncan, Bird, Russell, Wilt. You're not just battling MVPs, you're battling eras. You're battling legacy. You're battling the weight of time. And if we're going to throw Jokic into that room, you better come correct. Let's talk Jordan, for example. 6 titles, 6 finals MVPs, 5 regular season MVPs, 10-time scoring champ, defensive player of the year, never lost in the finals. The dude took 2 years off to play baseball in his prime and still came back to three-peat again. He changed the game globally. He changed what it meant to be an icon. Or take LeBron, 20-plus years of dominance, all-time leading scorer, top 5 in assists, 4-time MVP, for titles, 10 finals appearances. He's been the face of the league for almost 2 decades, and he's still out here playing like it's year 10. Even Larry, for all the old-school talk, was doing things in the 80s that still look modern today. Versatility, efficiency, leadership, and most importantly, winning. Because that's the one thing that still matters more than anything else, winning when it counts. Jokic has 1 ring, 1 dominant playoff run. And yeah, it was special. The Nuggets bulldozed their way to a title, and Jokic was untouchable. But to be the GOAT, you've got to do that more than once. You've got to turn dominance into dynasty. That's the level we're talking about. And look, it's not even about disrespecting Jokic. Not even close. If anything, it's too much love too soon. Let the guy build his resume. Let the story unfold. Because if he does this for 5 more years, racks up a couple more rings, maybe another MVP or 2, then we're talking about top 10, maybe top 5 all time. But right now, we got to chill with the superlatives. Also, can we just pause for a second and recognize how wild it is that this quote came from Michael Porter Jr.? Not a coach, not a Hall of Famer, not even a former teammate trying to hype up Jokic on national TV. This is a guy who's still in the league, barely touching the ball in crunch time. And he's out here crowning Jokic as the greatest ever. Like, what are we doing? How did MPJ become the torchbearer of the GOAT argument this summer? And again, let me be clear. Jokic might end up there. He really might. He's got the talent. He's got the IQ. He plays the game in a way that transcends traditional positions. But as of today, he's still writing chapter 6 of a book that needs to be at least 12 chapters long. We don't name the book a masterpiece halfway through. There's also the question of longevity. Part of what makes guys like LeBron and Kareem and even Kobe so legendary is that they sustained greatness. They didn't just flash brilliance. They maintained it for over a decade. Jokic has had a remarkable 5-year stretch. But 5 years doesn't make a GOAT. It makes you elite. It puts you on the radar. But it doesn't cement your legacy. And since we're on the Celtics channel here, let's bring it back full circle. Because the Bird comparison isn't just about numbers. It's about impact. Larry Bird didn't just win. He changed things. He made the Celtics the team of the 80s. He elevated rivalries. He forced Magic to be even better. He made the Celtics versus Lakers the most compelling drama in sports. Jokic is phenomenal. But he hasn't changed the narrative of the NBA yet. Not in that way. Now, maybe that's coming. Maybe Jokic becomes the face of the next generation. Maybe the Nuggets win 2 of the next 4 titles, and Denver becomes a basketball superpower. But until then, let's not skip steps. Let's not hand out crowns before the war is over. So to MPJ, I say this with all due respect. Slow your roll. Jokic might be the best in the world right now, and that's a big deal. But best of all time, that title isn't just about talent. It's about impact. It's about moments. It's about time. But before we continue, please remember to subscribe to the channel and give the video a like. Your support helps us keep bringing you the latest news about the Boston Celtics. Feel free to share your thoughts on the news in the comments as well. Entirely affecting trade negotiations, salary cap planning, and even Mazzulla's own standing among league executives. The sheer audacity of the statement, coming from a coach who has only recently solidified his leadership within the organization, has fueled debates across sports networks, podcasts, and online forums, making it one of the most talked about topics in professional basketball this season. Analysts are already predicting a flurry of speculation and counter-rumors, as insiders weigh in with conflicting perspectives, each trying to piece together a coherent narrative from situation deliberately reverberate through the Eastern Conference, altering competitive dynamics and forcing rival teams to reassess their own approaches to player retention and acquisition. Meanwhile, Boston's fan base is divided between shock, curiosity, and speculation as supporters try to anticipate how this unexpected move might influence the team's playoff prospects and long-term ambitions. Rumors of behind-the-scenes meetings, private confrontations, and even potential trade packages are circulating at a dizzying pace, creating an environment where fact and conjecture are almost indistinguishable, feeding the relentless appetite for information that characterizes modern sports media. In the absence of official clarification, every word from Mazzulla, every subtle expression captured on broadcast, and every indirect hint from Celtics insiders is magnified into a storyline of major consequence, making this saga feel as much like a high-stakes drama as it does like professional basketball. Adding fuel to the fire, insiders suggest that the alleged departure of this player could dramatically reshape the Celtics' tactical approach, forcing Mazzulla and his coaching staff to rethink rotations, offensive strategies, and defensive assignments on the fly. The potential absence of a key contributor, especially if this individual has historically been a cornerstone in scoring, playmaking, or defensive reliability, would necessitate creative adjustments from both the coaching staff and the remaining roster. Rumors hint at intense discussions within the team's management about possible replacements, trade scenarios, or even the promotion of bench players to more prominent roles, all of which could redefine the Celtics' identity on the court. Media analysts have begun mapping out hypothetical outcomes, projecting how different lineups might perform under pressure and speculating about which player might step up to fill the vacuum left by this unexpected move. Beyond the technical implications, there is a human element to consider. Locker room morale, player relationships, and the psychological impact of such a high-profile decision cannot be underestimated. Social media has become a virtual coliseum for fans and critics to weigh in, speculate, and debate the merits and risks of Mazzulla's reported decision, creating a digital echo chamber that amplifies every rumor. Within this chaotic swirl of conjecture, the narrative is evolving rapidly, with new twists emerging almost daily, and the boundary between rumor, insider insight, and confirmed news is increasingly blurred. The resulting discourse is not merely about basketball performance, but touches on leadership, authority, and the often unpredictable dynamics that govern elite sports franchises, making this unfolding story irresistible to the public imagination. The timing of this revelation, as reported, is particularly provocative, coinciding with a period when the Celtics are under intense scrutiny regarding their playoff viability, roster cohesion, and long-term strategic direction. Experts argue that such a bold move, whether executed with careful calculation or driven by frustration, could either galvanize the team or destabilize it, depending on how remaining players and staff respond. Speculative chatter has surged, suggesting that the player's departure might trigger a cascade of roster adjustments, contract renegotiations, and even shifts in coaching philosophy, all while rival teams watch closely to capitalize on any perceived weakness. Fans are actively monitoring practice sessions, pre-game warm-ups, and player interactions, searching for any signs of tension, alliances, or silent rebellions that might validate or refute the rumor. Journalists and pundits have begun crafting narratives that portray Mazzulla as either a decisive leader willing to enforce accountability or a volatile figure whose decisions could provoke instability within the locker room. In parallel, the market for potential trades and acquisitions has heated up, with insiders speculating about which players could be leveraged as part of a deal to strengthen the roster, how draft picks might factor in, and what financial implications these maneuvers might entail. The fluidity of the situation, combined with the absence of official confirmation, has created a perfect storm of speculation, intrigue, and anticipation, ensuring that every word from the Celtics organization, every gesture in public appearances, and every cryptic post on social media is scrutinized to the extreme, fueling an ongoing narrative that seems to grow more elaborate with each passing day. As this story continues to unfold, the broader NBA community is abuzz with conjecture, with analysts, former players, and commentators weighing in on the potential ramifications of Mazzulla's reported decision. Conversations now extend beyond the Celtics, encompassing questions about leadership, team culture, and a delicate balance between talent management and authority in professional sports. Some argue that this is a calculated risk designed to reinforce discipline and accountability, while others warn that such high-profile declarations could alienate not only players, but also fans and stakeholders who value stability. The ripple effects may influence not only the Eastern Conference standings, but also trade negotiations, free agency considerations, and the perceived attractiveness of the Celtics franchise to prospective talent. The intersection of rumor, reality, and media amplification has created a narrative ecosystem where speculation feeds speculation, each assertion becoming both a potential truth and a catalyst for further conjecture. Across social platforms, fan communities dissect every nuance, from possible motivations to imagined outcomes, turning the saga into a virtual chess match of theory, opinion, and analysis. With no official statements to clarify the situation, the rumor continues to dominate discussions, prompting endless debates about what is fact, what is fiction, and what might unfold in the days and weeks ahead. The tension is palpable, the stakes are high, and the Celtics, whether by design or circumstance, have found themselves at the epicenter of one of the most talked about and potentially transformative narratives in recent NBA memory. That's it for this update. If you enjoyed the video and want to keep receiving exclusive news about the Boston Celtics, please subscribe to our channel and give the video a like. We always appreciate your comments and opinions. See you in the next video.